Welcome to day 1 of our Python OOP Masterclass. Before diving into code, I want to tell you a real world fact. When software grows big like Instagram, YouTube, Uber, it becomes impossible to manage code in a simple procedural way. You need a system where code becomes organized, logic becomes reusable, and teamwork becomes super easy, and bugs become limited, and maintenance becomes smooth. And that system is called object oriented programming. Think of OOP like building a real city. We have a class and object in OOP. Class is a blueprint and object. Think about class, which is a design of a house, and object is an actual house built using that blueprint. Today we will make your foundation. Here question arises, what is OOP? OOP stands for Object Oriented Programming. It is a style of programming where everything is treated as an object. OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming. It is a style of programming where everything is treated as an object. An object has attributes. Attributes are nothing, data are variables, and we have behaviors, actions, we have the functions and method inside class. So these are called behaviors, and inside class we have variables that are called attributes. So it is a style of programming where everything is treated as an object. Inside OOP we have a class which is blueprint. A class is just a design or template. An object is a real thing. An object is created using that design. So think about class is a design of a house, and object is an actual house. So a class is just a design or template. An object is created using that design. And if you are new on this channel, don't forget to subscribe and like. On this channel you will see we have a DRF complete series, we have AI projects, and so on. So don't forget to subscribe and like. Here you will get AI, generative AI masterclass, and Python for everyone, and so many projects on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's continue with our today's session. Now it's time to write first class in Python. When we create a class in Python, so we have to use the keyword class, 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 and let's say class is the name. Class is a keyword and the name of a class is car. Let me zoom in. So we just create a class with name car. Inside that class, let's say brand equal to Toyota and model equal to Corolla. So what they are inside class. So this is an attribute of the class. We also say the variables. Let me write here. This is an attribute of the class, and after that def start, and I will pass self and print car has started. Inside class this will def start. This is a method of that class car. The start is a method of that class, and these are the attribute of the car class. So this is a method, and this is a simple class. We create a class with name car, and we have an attribute for that class, and we have a method for the car class. I hope this will make sense for you. If any doubt till now, please comment it. I am here to clear your doubts. So till now we cover the class and how to define and how to create an object from that class. Let's see this part. Creating an object from the class, let's say my underscore car, and I will pass. On this line I am creating basically object created on this line. On this line we are creating an object for the car class. So till now we cover how to create a class, how to define the attributes in that class, and how to define a method inside that class, and then we also learn how to create an object. Now here question arises how you will access that attributes and methods from that very class. So accessing attributes, let's say print my underscore car, and I will dot brand. I want to access the attribute of brand from that very class, so I write just the object my underscore car and then the attribute name with dot. And if I run this code, python main.py, as you see I am getting Toyota. Toyota is coming from the attribute which is brand. The brand name, basically these are the attributes inside class. So when I accessing that attribute from that very class, so I am getting Toyota. Let me access the model from that very class. So print my underscore car dot model. So if I save the code and if I clear the terminal and run this, you will see I am getting the brand name is Corolla and the model name is Corolla and the brand is Toyota. So if I want to differentiate this, let me differentiate this with the stars, multiply 20. So this will print 20 stars between the two lines. So let me print this. As you see, the brand is Toyota and the model is Corolla. I hope this will make sense for you. So we till now we access the attributes from the class car. Now it's time to call a method start from the class car. How you will call the method from that very class? So let me comment here, calling a method. So how you will call method? My underscore car dot, we have a method, the name is start, and if I save the code and inside my start, the start method, we have car has started. Let me clear the terminal and if I run this, car has started. So in this way you will access the attributes and calling a method from that very class. Let me explain one more time very easily. So on this line class car, we create a blueprint named car, and inside that very class the brand, these variables belong to the class car. So this variable belongs to that class, and model equal to Corolla. Every car created from this class will have a default brand. And on this line def start, we pass inside start self. This self means the current object, and this start method is doing just to print car has started. This method is just printing a message, and then here on this line we create a real object using the class design, and then here my underscore car dot brand, we are basically accessing the object's attributes. On the top line we are creating a real object using the class, and then on this line we are accessing the object's attribute. And then here my underscore car dot start, we are calling the method that belongs to the object. So here question arises, why we use self here. Self basically represents the object itself. Whenever you call my underscore car dot start, Python behind the scene converts into, let me write here, car dot start and my underscore car. So Python behind the scene is doing this. So self basically this self this self basically refers to the object calling the method. Remember this point, the self always refer to the object calling the method. And when we call my underscore car dot start, Python behind the scene use this car dot start and pass my underscore car. So self always refer to the object calling the method. So let me write here the self represents the object itself. So self represents the object itself. And when we call this, behind the scene Python converts it into car.start and pass the my underscore car. I hope this will make sense for you. What is the self? Self is nothing but represents the object itself. I hope this is clear. So we till now we create a method inside class, we create an attribute inside that class. So here question arises, how we add custom attributes inside that class. To add custom attributes inside that class, let me create one more file, new file. The name is adding custom underscore attributes .py. So here we create a file adding custom attributes. So let me create quickly a class with name student, and then inside that class def underscore init underscore self. Don't worry, I will explain you each and everything. So self dot name equal to name and self dot age equal to age, and we have to pass here name and age. After that, let me create one method info. This will just print a message. Print, I am going to use the f string student name and self dot name, and the age is age self dot age. Let me creating quickly the objects. For that, creating objects s1 equal to student the class name, and I am going to pass the name Ahmad and the age is, let's say, 30. So after that, s2 student, and I am going to pass Hafiz and the age is, let's say, 27. So if I call the method using s1 dot info and then s2.info. So this is the code part. What I did till now, let me explain each and everything. Basically, we create a class with name student. Make sure the class name should be capital, the start is capital. Then we define a method using under underscore init under underscore. Then we pass name and age inside this. So basically this is nothing but a constructor. This under underscore init under underscore is the constructor of the Python. It automatically runs when creating an object. Constructor is nothing but a Python Python constructor. It automatically runs when creating an object. The init this init runs automatically, and then self.name and self.age becomes object specific data. Each student has their own details. So basically we create a blueprint name student. Every student object will be created using this class. Think of this like a farm. Every student will have specific details, name and age. And this line is a constructor. So here question arises, what is constructor basically? A constructor is a special method that runs automatically when an object is created, and it is used to set initial data of the object. And under underscore init under underscore, this stands for initialize. So here question arises, why we pass self here? So why we write self here? Self represents the current object. Whenever you create an object, Python sends the object to self. Here in this example, we are creating an object. The Python sends the object to the self. In this example, let me write here. As you know, we are just creating an object, and we learn that the constructor is a special method that runs automatically when an object is created. So we are creating an object. That time the constructor, the special method that runs automatically when we create this. So behind the scene, Python basically internally Python does this student dot under underscore init under underscore, then s1, then the name Ahmad, and then the age. So internally Python does this. When we create an object, the Python is doing that inside. And here self.name equal to name, self.age equal to age. What this means, self.name attribute of the object, and the name, this name is the value, and self.name is the attribute of the object. So we have the self.name, the attribute of the object, and the name is the value. So we are passing a value passed by user. Here you see we are passing the name Ahmad, and that time here the Ahmad will be here, and we are passing the Ahmad to the self.name to the attribute of the object. Same thing is for the age. So this line means store the provided name inside the object under the name attribute. So we are providing the name Ahmad, and inside this line store the provided name Ahmad inside the object under the name attribute. Same for the age. Each object will have its own name and age. As you see here, internally Python send s1, and s1 will take the self, s1 will pass to the self, Ahmad will pass to the name, and 30 will pass to the age. So Python is internally doing this. I hope that's why we using the self here to handle the Python internally passing the object itself. Then we create a method with name info. Let me write here, this is method And method is nothing. Method is basically a function inside a class. Method performs action related to the class. Inside this method, what specific action is performing here? So it prints the student name and age. Here self.name gets the name stored for that object, and self.age gets the age stored for that object. We are storing the name and age from the user. The user passed the Ahmad and Hafiz, and this will pass to that, and here we store it. And on the first object we are passing Ahmad. So here the first time it will print when we call this method. Let me open my terminal to show you. Python, our name class, our file name is adding, and if I run this, you see I am getting the student name Ahmad with name and with age 30, and then student name Hafiz with age 27. First time self.name will store the name Ahmad on the first object created with S1, and the second object with S2 is storing the name Hafiz and with age 27. That's why when we call s1.info, it will give us the stored Ahmad and 30, and when we call the s2 info, that time it will give us the stored Hafiz and 27. So I hope how you will pass how the data is storing, what is self, what is constructor, what is attributes, and what are the methods inside the class. So let me explain this point more easily. Basically, we are creating an actual object. Behind the scene, Python create a new empty object like an empty student card and run under underscore init to fill details the name and age, and then store the complete object inside S1. So S1 is a student whose name is Ahmad and with age 30, and S2 is a student whose name is Hafiz and age is 27. And here we are calling a method S1info. What this does, when you call, basically internally they are doing student.info and passing S1. So when we call method S1info, internally student.info and S1 is passed, and when we call this method and this is printing, the action is performing here when we call the info of student class. So here let me quickly recap all the thing. Class student creating a class blueprint, then def under underscore init under underscore constructor runs automatically, self.name equal to name, store name into object, and then we define a method def info passing itself method to print details, and then s1, and we create an object student, create first student object, and then we create a second student object, and then we print Ahmad info the student one info, and then we call this method, and we are getting the result of when we call this the student info student 2 info. Let me create one more file to understand this more easy. Mobile phone .py. So for the mobile phone we are creating a class with name mobile, and after that we have to define constructor and under underscore, and we are passing self, and then the brand, and then price. So after that, and this is not dot, this is, so inside this self dot brand brand equal to brand, and self dot price equal to price. After that, def call print f string self dot brand is calling. After that, def details, and when this method call, I want that print what the simple brand, then self dot brand, and the price will be self dot price, and we have to create an object for this. So m1 equal to mobile, and I'm going to pass the brand is Samsung. Let's say the price is 46,000, and m2, the second object, mobile iPhone 2,60,000. After creating an object, I'm going to call m1 details, and then m2 call. So when I open my terminal, clear the terminal, python mobile phone.py. As you see, I am getting the brand Samsung with price 46 when first object is created, and on the second object m2, iPhone is calling, m2.call. As you see, inside our second object we have the brand is iPhone, and when we call this method m2 call, that time we are getting iPhone. Why this? Basically inside our brand, here the brand is stored iPhone when I call the method call with m2. Now it's time for the interview questions. What is OOP in Python? OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming, a programming style where everything is organized into objects. Object contains data, attributes, and action methods. And basically, OOP helps in code reusability, organization, scalability, and maintenance. So, what is a class? A class is a blueprint or template used to create objects. And what is an object? An object is an instance of a class. It is created using the class blueprint. And what is the purpose of under underscore init under underscore init under underscore init is the constructor. It runs automatically when you create an object and initialize object attributes. What is self in Python? Self refers to the current object. It allows access to object attributes and methods. So what is the difference between class attribute and instance attribute? Instance attribute is basically unique to each object defined inside under underscore init under underscore. So instance attribute are defined inside under underscore init under underscore and unique to each object. Instance attribute are unique to each object, and the class attribute are shared by all objects defined inside class outside the constructor. Let me show you the class attribute. So these are the class attributes, and these are the instance attribute. Instance attribute are defined inside under underscore init under underscore, and the class attributes are defined before the under underscore init if we have here. So here question arises, in Python we have a concept of function and methods. What is the difference between method and function? Function basically define outside the class, and the method define inside the class. So here in this example, this is a method. Why this is a method? Because this is defined inside that class. So if we create a method, let's say def info, so print info. So here this is an function and this is an method. Method is defined inside class and the function is defining outside the class, and the function is working independently while the method works with object. Inside function we not pass any default parameter because and while inside our method we are passing the default parameter self here as you see here. So these are the difference between method and function. In method we pass the default parameter self, but in function we not pass any default parameter. Now it's time for the class 1 assignment. What are the assignment for today after learning each concept? So task 1, inside task 1 we have create a class book with title, author and price. So task 1 is create a class with name book with title, author and price. Add a method info to show book details. So we have to just you have to just create a class with name book and then the attributes title, author and price, and then you have to create a simple method with info with name info to show book details, and then you have to create three book objects and print details. This is a simple task. I hope you will do it very easy. If any doubt in this, I am here to clear your doubt and I will do this for you. So in task 2, after learning the today concepts, so create a class employee, add constructor with name, salary and position, create a method show underscore employee, ask user input to create an employee object. This is very simple and I hope you all will do this very easily. And then we have task 3, create a class calculator. Constructor takes two numbers, add methods, add, subtract, multiply and divide. So you have to define four methods, add, subtract, multiply and divide, create an object and call all functions. So I hope you will do this task. If any doubt, please share with comment. So till now I hope every concept is clear. So guys, please focus on these concepts. These are the basics of OOP. If the basic concept of OOP are clear, then you will easily understand inheritance, encapsulation, abstract class and so on. So till now everything is okay. We will continue in next class. Thanks for watching.